Long time no see. John Luck, Jonathan Rodriguez back here on your TV. Want to start things off with a little poem, apparently. A lot to get to here, catching up on a lot of stuff going on in the world of sports. I think the last time we were on was, maybe before the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I would say about that time.
So, the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Luke is a Laker. Celtics aren't owned by Wyc Grousbeck anymore. Bruins still suck. We'll get to it all here over the next hour or so. But if you can smell it, the fresh cut grass, hot dogs and sausages on the grill, just a touch of mediocrity means one thing: baseball is back. The Boston Red Sox, by the time you're watching this, have opened up the 2025 regular season on the road in Texas, part of a 6-game road trip, and this is a different looking Red Sox team than we saw at the end of last year. Obviously, the team trading for Garrett Crochet from the Chicago White Sox, but they also signed Alex Bregman to a 3-year deal, and a lot of controversy involving Bregman and Rafael Devers. We'll get to that in this segment here. But overall, what are your expectations for the Boston Red Sox in 2025? Because I've seen people say that they're going to be an awful team, but then I've also seen people say they're World Series bound.
Yeah, so I can't really see the awful team analogy at all. We had the roster we did last year and almost kind of went like 500-ish. So I would say with all the additions we made, if you don't think we're a playoff team, it's kind of like a little bit laughable. It doesn't really make sense to me how you could, we add Bregman, Crochet, we have the rookie and Campbell. I feel like we have a lot of pieces to make some noise and win the AL East. So I think we're a playoff team. Can we make a deep run? I hope so. I think we have the pieces to definitely make a deep run. The other teams in the AL East seem like they're hurting, especially the Yankees, with the injuries to Cole and to some of their other pieces like Stanton. So I would say that Boston has the opening, and I do hope that they just take advantage of it.
I think there's a lot of hoping with this Boston Red Sox team. First of all, you're hoping that Garrett Crochet can be the guy that goes out there and has 30, 33, 34 starts, can have a record of somewhere in the ballpark of 15 and 10, 15 and 9, something like that, and ridiculous strikeout numbers. The one thing that does concern me, though, about Garrett Crochet is last season was his first season as a true number one starter, and albeit with the Chicago White Sox, but 6-12, 209 strikeouts, and 33 walks. I did a little bit of research here going back to 2020 when he first debuted, and 2020 was a disaster in all aspects here. So we'll start with 21. In 54 appearances, 0 starts, and 27 walks to go along with 65 strikeouts. 22, he had Tommy John surgery. He came back in 23. Garrett Crochet did have some more injury issues, so he only appeared 13 times, had 12 strikeouts and 13 walks. Then last year with the White Sox, as I mentioned, that was the year his stock really took off, with 209 strikeouts, 33 walks. He was 6-12. The White Sox sucked, so take that with a grain of salt, but he had 32 starts. My worry with Garrett Crochet is, could this be another Chris Sale situation, just in the aspect of you don't know what he's going to look like on a team that's aiming for September and he's a number one star? I'm hoping Garrett Crochet is going to go out there and be this guy that has 209 strikeouts again, 33 walks, and maybe flip the record around 12-6 with the Boston Red Sox. But to me, there's just a lot of hope that Garrett Crochet can be that guy that can really lead this team into October. I'm hoping he does, but that's just one thing I'm watching. And then also, some of the other offseason moves just seems really short-sighted here. So I'm not sure if this is maybe the Red Sox buying this year, and worst case, they can flip things down the road. But Walker Buehler to a 1-year contract. So you have Garrett Crochet, who's potentially looking for a contract extension. Mm-hmm. You have Walker Buehler, who's looking to improve his stock. So you have guys here trying to improve their contract situation, and the Boston Red Sox, trying to figure things out as well. So offensively, I think this team looks great. Look at the first 4 or 5 batters in this lineup here. Jarren Duran, Rafael Devers, Alex Bregman, Tristan Casas, Trevor Story. So offensively, this team's set. Mm-hmm. Pitching-wise, that's the one thing that I think people need to be worried about here. Not saying, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 10 on the worried scale, but just keep an eye on it, especially when we get into the summer months and the pitchers go out there and pitch 2 out of 3 days or 2 out of 4 days, and all those appearances start to mount up. Mm-hmm. One big story in Red Sox camp during spring training was the conversation about the third base position. Obviously, Rafael Devers has been with the Red Sox for a long time. The Sox did sign Alex Bregman to a big contract, and Devers was asked by reporters, you've seen this press conference a lot here, I'm sure, will you move from third base to DH? And he said, I think 17 or 18 times, no. Alex Bregman said the right things. He said he'll play wherever Alex Cora wants him to. But it looks like here to start the season, Devers is going to be the DH. Bregman is going to be the third baseman. Are we playing with fire here for the Boston Red Sox with this third base situation?
I don't think so. The numbers don't lie, and clearly Devers, anytime I looked it up, Devers was on the bottom of every list for like third base defense or in the range of just bottom tier. And when you look for Bregman, you always found him at the top of every list for that same stat. So why would you not want to put Bregman in for third base and then for Devers just help the team? I mean, it's realistically, you got paid a few years ago. This is less work for you. Why would you why would you be complaining about something like that? If I'm DH and I'm still, there's no impact to my contract, yeah, put me at DH. If that guy wants to do third base, that's less work for me. I'm still getting paid the same. I'm helping the team. All these things seem like check marks to me. It kind of seems a little ridiculous for Devers to be creating this kind of controversy around something that seems like such a simple choice to me.
Is Rafael Devers not aware of how the world runs now? The key goal in life is to get paid and do as little as possible. If you're Rafael Devers and you're guaranteed basically $313 million and your manager is saying, you know what, we're still going to give you $313 million, but you're only going to do half the work. Why are you going to bitch about that? If you're Rafael Devers here, give me the bat, I'll eat some popcorn, I'll eat some Chipotle, and I'll take a swing every, half hour or so. David Ortiz was the first baseman for a long time before he got to Boston. Mm-hmm. And at some point, it was easier for the team and him to make him just a designated hitter. And I think it's safe to say David Ortiz, pretty good. It worked out for him, I think.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it came down to David Ortiz making a special trip to Fort Myers, Florida, and talking to Rafael Devers and saying, I understand you want to help the team as much as possible, but the way you help this team right now is to be a designated hitter. And if Rafael Devers continues to have issues with this and complain about it, just wait until Masataka Yoshida comes in. Yoshida's going to be a designated hitter when he comes back from his shoulder surgery, so then Devers is going to have to platoon time at designated hitter with Yoshida. So if Devers isn't careful, this could all blow up in his face, but it looks like for the time being, things are kind of kept in the emotion level. Yeah. Next up here, Christian Campbell, the big story coming out of camp. He is going to be on the opening day roster for the Boston Red Sox. Campbell defensively, I think, is a great player for the Red Sox. Offensively, though, this spring, 8 for 48. That comes out to a 167 batting average with 1 home run and 2 RBI. He was part of a 3-headed monster with Marcelo Meyer and Roman Anthony in spring training this year, but it looks like Campbell is going to be the lone player coming out of the 3-headed monster and joining the team in Texas, while the other 2 go to Worcester. Did the Red Sox pull the trigger on Christian Campbell too early?
I don't think so. I think he's done everything the team asked him to do, and I looked it up. He put on 15 pounds of muscle. He's been working on his right-handed stroke. I think these kinds of things translated to spring training, and he's definitely improved. So why would you not want to elevate this young man to the team? For me personally, I see AL Rookie of the Year kind of contention for him. I think my sentiment, he's done everything he's needed to do for the team, and he looks good. So he earned this spot on the opening day roster.
I put on 15 pounds of muscle before we came back to the show. The one thing that kind of concerns me about Campbell is the game starts to speed up a little bit when you get into the regular season. So in spring training, be it is spring training, you're hitting 167. When you get to some of these big league ballparks that have a deep outfield, like a Texas, even some of the ballparks in the NL West as well, how can Campbell contribute offensively? Because defensively, I think there could have been a case that you could have had a Vaughn Grissom out there or David Hamilton just to kind of bide your time. I'm just surprised the Red Sox did this from a contract standpoint, because we've seen the Red Sox continue to keep these players down in the minor leagues so that way you can save a year of service when it comes time for a contract renewal. But with Campbell coming up here and most likely spending most of the season with the Major League ballpark, now that kind of accelerates the contract clock, if you will.
Yeah.
So prediction time, where do you see the Red Sox season ending?
That's such a good, loaded question. If no injuries are involved or anything like that, I see a deep playoff run. I see a pennant talk. Everything needs to work out. And if that's the case, then you're also going to have to pay Garrett Crochet, which you should have done, because if we make it that deep, he's going to be a vital part of why we did. So that price that he was asking for before the season, I would assume that it's going to be ridiculous after the season. I see a deep pennant run for us.
So I think that this Red Sox team will be in the wild card discussion, and that's not a bad thing in baseball. Obviously, the wild card got expanded, but there's just a lot of teams I think above them in the AL East that can make a bigger difference. Baltimore, I think their window is closing, so I wonder what they're going to do throughout the season to improve their ball club. Toronto, their top five, I think, can challenge this top five as far as batting order goes. And don't forget, they got Max Scherzer, so maybe they can squeeze that extra drop of ketchup out of the bottle, if you will. The Yankees, again, are a team that you're always going to have to compete with, and the Rays are always going to be that pain in the ass of a baseball team. So if the Red Sox can get into the wild card, I think that's great. This rotation, like I said, right now it's good, but what is it going to look like as the season goes on? Because Walker Buehler, I think, is coming back from a shoulder surgery in the past couple of years. Garrett Crochet, of course, the Tommy John surgery I talked about. Bayo's already on the IL. So this team's going to have to bridge the gap here over the first month and a half of the season. So if they can do that, and this team is, call it 30-20, 35-20 through the first 50-55 games, then I think the Red Sox are a shoo-in to be a wild card team by the time we get to October. Very quickly here, we had some breaking news the day before we recorded here, and that is the New England Patriots actually made a big-time signing. Stephon Diggs signing a 3-year contract worth up to $69 million, and $26 million of it is guaranteed, so a nice contract there for Diggs. Now, the big story is that he tore his ACL back in October when he was with the Houston Texans. Now, that recovery time does take between 6 and 9 months, but overall, I think this is a huge thing for the New England Patriots here as you get ready for the draft, because it also shows where you're going to go in the draft. But for Drake May, this is a big moment here because you now have your wide receiver one.
Yeah, I think this was a phenomenal signing. It did seem like we had to overpay for him, which I'm perfectly fine with. I think the biggest thing was just getting somebody up here or attracting somebody up here. And clearly people are not attracted to New England like they once were with Brady. So you're going to have to pay that, hey, this is the tax now that you now require when people come up here, because nobody wanted to come up here. Our receiving core looked like bare bones, and we haven't had a wide receiver one, or at least somebody that you can maybe name their name in such a long time. So we had to overpay for him off of the ACL, but I've been watching videos of him. He seems like he's in the gym every day, rehabbing, looking explosive. And I also just like the energy Diggs brings to the receiving core, to the offense. I watched him last year with the Houston Texans, and the relationship he built with Tank Dell, Nico Collins, and the rest of the receiving core. They looked like brothers out there. They were supporting each other in every aspect of the offense, in the game. I love that kind of energy. If he's bringing that kind of energy to the New England wide receiver core, and we continue to add on to it, I think it's a very contagious energy that he can bring to the team. And to be realistic, besides him, Pop, and Hunter Henry, like, he's gonna get his targets. So the whole diva thing, wide receiver ones are divas. That they command that. That's what they command. I'm okay with that happening if that translates to W's, if that translates to Drake May taking the next step. So I am perfectly fine with Diggs coming, doing what he does, and he plays the Bills twice a year. So, like, get that revenge game, bud.
So I think this means that the Bills games are going to probably happen after week 5 or 6. And with the ACL, I'm not as worried about that because I think that just means maybe he misses the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season. But I think that also gives an opportunity to players like a Pop Douglas, Kendrick Bourne, and even a Mac Hollins, who you also signed, oddly enough, from the Bills, a chance to kind of find their place in Drake May's reads across the field. Stephon Diggs is always going to be there for the deep ball, the big catches, but I think the first 3 or 4 weeks, I think that's when you depend on a Bourne, Douglas, or Mac Hollins. In terms of the contract situation, we talked about this actually before the show. The first 2 years, you're fine. By the time you get to year 3, that's when the issue starts because that's when you're going to have the holdouts. But right now, I think the biggest thing is the fact the Patriots, and you said it, overspent. I think I brought up this term. There's a suck tax when it comes to bringing free agents to a place like Boston or New England when the team is awful. If your team sucks, you're going to have to add another $10, $15, $20 million to your contract offer because that player's always going to chase the money, maybe not so much the rings. Now, this is important for Drake May, too, because if he can handle playing with Stephon Diggs well, wide receivers are going to look around the league and say, well, Drake May is doing pretty well with Stephon Diggs. Maybe I'm a free agent. Maybe I'll go there. So if ownership is willing to pay. If Drake May can play with a true wide receiver 1, this could truly be a franchise-altering signing for the New England Patriots. And I talked about a little bit here in about a minute left for the draft. I think now this takes Travis Hunter out of the conversation. Now I think you go with the edge rusher from Penn State or the offensive lineman from LSU. But I think it kind of clears things up, and maybe wide receiver you go with the wide receiver out of Ohio State, Emeka Egbuka. Explosive guy down the sidelines, but overall I think for the draft, I think now you're looking at the trenches.
I wouldn't mind taking that like trench guy, but I'm also not scared to just take the best player available. We don't have a lot of like great significant players. Gonzo and Drake May are who come to mind, and we need that. I don't care if it's Travis Hunter, Abdullah Carter, whoever it is that can just make an immediate impact and bring star power. Because when you have stars on your team, other stars want to come and play with them. So I would not mind Travis Hunter. It gives us a element on both defense and offense. If he truly can do what he's saying he wants to do, and we've seen him do, he can be a wide receiver 1 as well. I'm not mad at having multiple wide receiver 1s, and he can be a cornerback 1. So if it's Travis Hunter, if it's Carter, who cares? As long as that star power comes to New England again, I am perfectly fine with whoever they pick there that we get.
All right, we'll take a break here. When we come back, Bill is paying bills. We have a new owner for the Boston Celtics for the low price of $6.1 billion. What could this mean for the C's? We'll talk about that coming up.
Hey, Hard, what's this?
That's my resignation letter.
You're resigning. Why?
Because you're constantly ignoring me. You're half as active as you used to be, and you get stuff like this. You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately. That's why I'm ready to quit.
I forgot. I'll do better. Please, don't quit on me.
Okay.
But remember, it's not what you say, it's what you do.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you.
Let's go for a walk.
Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
As I mentioned at the start of the show, we've been away for a while. Like I said, the Chiefs were still playing for a Chief Pete. But on the hardwood, a big story broke, and that is the fact that the Boston Celtics have been sold to Bill Chisholm's group for a North American sports record $6.1 billion. That beats out Washington Commanders' $6.05 billion sale just a couple years ago. Now, the agreement calls for a two-part sale in which Chisholm will acquire at least 51% of the team upon approval by the Board of Governors, which would come as soon as this summer. Current owners would have the option to retain the remainder of their shares until 2028. So it sounds like the group of Wyc Grousbeck, Steve Pagliuca is still going to hang around for a couple years. So Wyc is still the governor of the team, but Bill Chisholm is the new guy in charge as far as ownership goes. And when I saw the $6.1 billion price tag, I thought, A, that's a lot of money, and B, the NBA is loving life right now because the Las Vegas franchise is going to go for $6.5 billion when that comes out, probably in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, from all the research I've done on the owner, he seems like a lifelong Boston Celtics fan. So I think that aspect of it is pretty cool because you're bringing in somebody in the building that truly wants what's best for the team. I also hope that like fandom and being an owner aren't two things that like kind of conflict in him. We've seen where owners can like kind of play NBA 2K with their roster sometimes, and oh yeah, ship out picks, and oh yeah, pay this player this or this and that, and then it doesn't end up well. So hopefully he has an infrastructure there with Brad Stevens, with our coach, that there's a whole infrastructure there that he needs to lean on, support. All you need to do is kind of just send out the money and leave it at that. I think for me, the sale, I was kind of like, the Boston Celtics is such a big franchise, so when I saw the 6.1 and then I saw that the Washington Commanders went for like just under that, I was kind of like, that's not too bad of a deal, because when you really see, yeah, it's an NFL franchise, and where the NFL is right now with the NBA, competing wise, it's kind of like not even a competition sometimes, but like the Commanders have been such a joke for such a long time that you kind of see it like, oh, well, if the Celtics only went for like a little bit more than them, you kind of like look at it like maybe it's a deal, maybe it's not. I feel like when you look at that, like you said, Las Vegas aspect of things and what that team could go for, it could go for a lot, and I think it should go for a lot. So
with my initial thoughts on this, being that's a lot of money, the Vegas franchise, the other thing is, can this core for the Boston Celtics continue to stay around? Because yes, this guy has money with $6.1 billion. Yes, he's a lifelong Celtics fan, but he's also a businessman. And is it best for your business to go out there and have a salary cap for a team in 2 years of $500 million when you're including all the luxury tax stuff? So right now, this is that weird, I feel like, honeymoon period where everything's just laughing at jokes and, we're having a good time, and I could see this lasting a lifetime. But when that shine wears off in the summertime and things become a little more real fiscally, will Bill Chisholm continue to pay close to $500 million on this team? Now, he said that he wants to continue to bring in banners and all that, but again, that's where that whole first date idea comes into mind, because once you get to the second, the third, or the fourth, then it becomes a little more serious. Then maybe then that's when you start tinkering with the ideas of trading a Drew Holiday with a year left on his contract, Derek White in 2 years. Right now everything's good with the team because obviously they're going for banner 19. We'll talk about that in overtime. But the thing that does kind of concern me is how long will Bill Chisholm continue to pay for this team that Wyc Grousbeck has assembled? Because obviously Wyc Grousbeck didn't really care about the salary cap and finances, just kind of leaving it to the next guy. But now the next guy is here, and how will the next guy handle it? That's another thought that crossed my mind.
Yeah.
So I think Jason Tatum at the end of his contract is going to make around $70 million per year. Jaylen Brown's going to make just under that. So when we get to 28, 29, 30, and it's truly Bill Chisholm's team, how is he going to handle the team financially? That's the one thing I'm going to look for as we continue to go into the now Bill Chisholm era.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is knowing when to move those pieces. You know what I mean? So knowing when to move a Drew Holiday, knowing when to move a Derek White or Kristaps Porzingis. You clearly know who your two best players are. So maybe knowing, hey, I need to move these players. Yeah, Drew Holiday at the last year of his contract, things of that nature, to keep that core of Brown and Tatum to where they still have fresh pieces around them, where they can still make these deep runs. Because at the end of the day, I think what helps any kind of owner is, hey, yeah, I'm willing to pay this if it's going to equal championships. I'm willing to bring this player in or to ship this like beloved player out if it's going to equal a championship. We saw the same thing when Smart went out. People loved Smart, but he wasn't giving us what we needed for those deep playoff runs. So then, yeah, everybody was like, oh, Smart. But they weren't upset when we were getting that championship last year. So my thing is just knowing the time, and yeah, there's going to be a time, and people probably aren't going to be happy with them, but they'll be awfully quiet when banner 19 or 20 goes up. So
I'm just saying that box of Wicked Smart cereal, you can just taste the sadness with every bite after that trade. Steve Pagliuca sent out an interesting tweet after the sale came down. Just reading a little snippet here. We made a fully guaranteed and financed offer at a record price, benefiting the best sports fan in the world, and with all the capital coming from individuals who are fully committed to winning on and off the court. We had no debt or private equity money that would potentially hamstring our ability to compete in the future. We have felt it was the best offer for the Celtics. It is a bit of true fans, deeply connected to Boston's community, and we've been saddened to find out that we have not been selected in the process. I will never stop being a Celtic, and if the announced transaction does not end up being finalized, my partners and I are ready to check back into the game and bring it home to help continue what the Celtics do best, win. Looks like Steve Pagliuca will not be sitting courtside next to Bill Chisholm, it feels like, reading that quote. Did Pagliuca maybe get the raw end of the deal?
I don't think so. I think the person who got the team is the right owner. Just looking, I got to research him, and I saw somebody that's passionate about the team. Clearly, I could pay that money. It's not an M, it's a B. Just remember that. And I think that's what you want out of your owner. Somebody that is passionate about the team, that wants to see success, that's always been a lifelong fan, and clearly that was able to pay what the previous owners wanted out of it. And I think the right person was picked for the new owner.
One interesting thing that crossed my mind is, did Wyc Grousbeck want Steve Pagliuca to take this team and go win another 3 or 4 championships? Because if that happens, then maybe Wyc would look back and say, maybe I was the issue because I couldn't win as many championships as Steve Pagliuca, but Pagliuca already had the team that I basically bought. Mm-hmm. So maybe that was something that crossed, maybe a little bit of billionaire bitterness, if we want to get alliteration going there. But I'm interested to see what the next decade or two brings for the Bill Chisholm era. We'll take a break here. If you're watching the hour version of our show, we have overtime coming up, and the Boston Celtics right now, under the Wyc Grousbeck ownership, are preparing their chase for banner 19. The Bruins are awful. We'll talk about their demise.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Welcome back to On the Sidelines. This is Overtime. I'm John Luck, Jonathan Rodriguez over there, and we talked about the new ownership for the Boston Celtics. How about this edition of the Boston Celtics? And as of this recording, they are 53-19. They're locked into second place in the East, basically. They're 29-7 on the road, and the reason I bring that up is because their team they're chasing in the East, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they're 28-9. So it looks like those two teams are on a collision course in the conference finals. We'll talk about that a little bit later on here. But overall, we've been gone for a few weeks here. The basketball that you've seen in the NBA involving the Celtics, what do you make of the 18-time champs?
They've looked good until Tatum took that little tumble, I would say. They've played everybody pretty tight. Regular season is hard for me to gauge sometimes just because the games change so much to just kind of minimal defense and pretty much jacking up threes. So it's very hard to watch sometimes. I think, like I said in the beginning of the season, I think we're kind of coasting like those Warriors used to do to the postseason, and I think that's when the switch will turn on for us. It seems, besides Tatum, everyone else seems pretty healthy. I think Tatum hit that point where he's eligible for all the awards, so I think it'll be a little bit of load management for him going forward. But I think we look good. I think that collision course that everybody sees happening, I don't know if it's going to happen. I have a feeling Cleveland is going to look good that first round and then they're going to lose. Yeah, they're going to lose in that second round. I just have a feeling about it. Hopefully they go all the way. They had a phenomenal regular season, and they deserve all the praise and recognition that comes along with that. But I just have a feeling they're just like that regular season Cinderella, and postseason comes, and they are going to look drastically different in that second round for that second round matchup. So I don't know if they're going to make it there or not, but hopefully it's like a New York Celtics conference final. That would be phenomenal. Ratings would go through the roof, I think, for that. But Celtics, I think, are going to – I have a feeling they're going to make it to the conference finals. After that, I'm not predicting anything. I think that conference finals matchup will be good.
I'm going to be all great by the time we get to the NBA finals. They go that far. So first off, the Jason Tatum injury. That might have aged me about 5 years when I saw that happen. Domantas Sabonis. Yeah, there's a lot I could say, but I just won't. That was an NBA issue as far as closeouts go. A big should not be on the wing closing out a three-point shooter, but I digress on that. You talked about the load management for this team. It's interesting here. Jason Tatum, when we're recording this, has played in 66 games, averaging 36 minutes a game. The only players that have a shot at playing 70 games right now, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, and Luke Cornett. So I think that shows that the Celtics are being a little more responsible with the roster, because if this were the Celtics 2 or 3 years ago, Jaylen Brown would be playing 75 to 78 regular season games, Jason Tatum as well. But now it feels like Joe Mazzulla and the Celtics coaches are starting to bring back the reins a little bit and letting the players like a Baylor Shireman or a Peyton Pritchard or Sam Hauser go out there and continue to kill it. The Boston Celtics are still blowing teams out by 25 or 30 points, even without a Porzingis, a Brown, a Tatum on the floor. So that shows that this team is built for success. We'll talk about it a little bit here. There are some things that do concern me with the Boston Celtics going out, into the playoffs. But as far as the rest of the season goes, the Boston Celtics, I think in the last 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 games, if they can finish 6-3, I'm feeling really good about this team. There aren't a lot of nice-looking matchups left. New York's just going to be throwing the scrubs out there. Memphis on the 31st, that one could be interesting, especially if that's when Jason Tatum does come back from the ankle injury. But overall, I think this Boston Celtics team is where we expect them to be, in the top 2. And that's where you want to be. This team is great on the road. They're 29-7. I also brought up the Cleveland Cavaliers road record because it looks like that's probably going to be the conference finals matchup if you go with standings. So can the Celtics go in there and steal a game in the first 2? If they can do that, I think this team is set for the NBA Finals and maybe a banner. But the Cavaliers have played the Boston Celtics very tough this year. So I talked about the not nice looking schedule here in terms of playoff quality teams. Can the Boston Celtics ramp up the intensity to the playoff magnitude by the time we get to the end of April? Because by the end of April, it will probably be about a month since the Celtics played a true playoff quality game.
Yeah, I think the ramping up is going to happen. Like you said, I think the team has been very smart with how they've kind of managed everybody, because you don't want your stars being like burnt out towards the end of the season. You want them to be kind of fresh and ready for that postseason push and be expected to play all those games. So if I'm playing 66 games now, yeah, let that happen. Let them just kind of take, especially with all the pieces on the bench kind of contributing like they are. Oh yeah, if you guys are going to contribute like that, let the star players just kind of relax out. And then when the time comes for them to kind of turn it up in the postseason, you also have the kind of reassurance that like the guys behind me can hold it down if I'm having a bad night, if I'm maybe injured for a game or two. If I have that kind of reassurance behind me, I'm playing so free, so open, that this team is going to be extremely dangerous. They know they're set in the 2 seed right now. It's going to be very, very, very dangerous for this team come that first, second round. I feel like it's going to be either sweeps or gentlemen's sweeps for them, and then really just coasting to the conference finals.
Top 3 reasons the Celtics will win Banner 19, and the top 3 reasons the Celtics won't win Banner 19. I feel like we'll probably be kind of on the same wavelength here. So give me your top 3 reasons they'll win a championship and they won't win a championship.
I think the top 3 reasons why they will win a championship will be because of inexperience from the other teams that are either at the top, either in the West or in the East. Cleveland just hasn't done it without LeBron. And then when you're looking at the other side, if an OKC goes, or if like Rockets and OKC are in that top 1 to 3 range, those kind of teams are like very inexperienced. I'm not really worried about when they get, if that kind of matchup happens in the NBA Finals or in the conference finals with Cleveland. I think experience always supersedes like the talent part of everything. If we know how to win a Game 7 at home or on the road, I think that's a big contributing factor of why they will just kind of coast in these kind of matchups sometimes. And I think they're just the deepest team when you really like experience and overall just players that contribute. You having Peyton Pritchard come off the bench and just drop 40 points is ridiculous. So I think it's experience. I think it's just the deepness of the team. Why they won't will either be because of injury and because of just not having their foot on the pedal. I think if they let other teams back in games like they did in that Cleveland game, or let them back in series, it's going to be very dangerous for them. You don't want to give a young team like that opening. So I think they know what they have to do, and I think they just got to just put their foot on the pedal come playoff push and just don't take it off.
So I think we're kind of feeling the same here. So I'll start with the reasons the Celtics won't win a championship. One is health. Obviously, the Jason Tatum scare should scare a lot of people, and what this could look like if one of these main 6 players are out for a long amount of time. Next one, you talk about it, cruise control. If Boston has a lead early in a big game, there's still time for teams to come back. I mean, we saw what happened when the Celtics were up 22-5 against the Cavs in the first quarter. The Cavaliers slowly fought back, and the Celtics just couldn't put their foot back on the pedal. And then the other one is something that has made me angry going back to the Brad Stevens Celtics, and that is this team forcing up threes to try and break themselves out of a cold stretch. If the shot is there, fine, but there are a lot of cases where the Celtics are having a hard time hitting threes, and they're just jacking up shots, and it's one and done. The team goes back the other way with numbers in their favor, and all of a sudden you have a fast break starting. Yep. So those are 3 reasons the Celtics won't win a championship. I'm a green teamer, so these are 3 reasons the Celtics will win a championship. Health. Jason Tatum's ankle looks like it's okay. Kristaps Porzingis has been okay. He's missed 17 games since Christmas. Now, 6 of those were due to back-to-backs. So it looks like health right now, again, is on the Celtics side. Number 2, stay ready crew minutes. You talked about Peyton Pritchard lighting it up, launching it from Somerville, Cambridge against the Portland Trailblazers at the Garden. If he can continue to shoot like that, you could have a possibility of like a Kelly Olynyk game against the Wizards in the second round back in 2017, I think. But in the playoffs, there's always 1 or 2 of those games where someone from the bench, be it a Hauser, Pritchard, even a Baylor Shireman coming out, that could have a big part in the Celtics winning one game. And then 3, the bracket. We talked about it. The way the bracket looks right now for the Celtics, most likely route, facing the winner of the Atlanta-Orlando playing game in the first round, then probably facing the Knicks or the Pistons in the second round. Meanwhile, the Cavaliers, it looks like they're going to have to face either the Magic, the Bulls, or the Heat in the first round. And then in the second round, they'll face either the Pacers or the Bucks. Obviously, still a lot to play around with there in the standings. But if the bracket breaks down like this, the Celtics are going to probably have a few days of extra rest compared to what the Cavaliers are going to have. So let's talk about the other TD Garden team. This brings joy to my heart. The Boston Bruins are in full tank mode right now as they have traded away their captain, Brad Marchand, part of a fire sale of sorts for Don Sweeney and Cam Neely. Brad Marchand getting traded from the Boston Bruins to the Florida Panthers. Interesting with that dynamic, but overall, I'll start off here. I think it's a trade that had to be made. You have to get rid of some of these older players here that go back to the older generation, the cup runs and all that. Right now, the Boston Bruins are kind of hanging in limbo right now. They're playing with the lottery and all that. And Brad Marchand's not a part of your long-term solution. Was he a great player for the Boston Bruins for a long time? Yeah, I'll give you that much. But it almost feels like he overstayed his welcome. They gave him the captaincy just because he's been there for the longest. But Brad Marchand, you could kind of see it at the start of the season, just didn't really play into this team's long-term plans. And at some point, that Band-Aid had to get ripped off, and off it went. Maybe a little bit of hair to make it painful, but it was a trade that had to be made.
Yeah, the Bruins, I think they needed to make all these moves. I said in the beginning, and maybe you can put like a little video over me right now, and I said this Swayman deal would be such a distraction to this team and cause not good things to happen. I said it with the Brandon Ayuk when that whole mess, when stuff like this happens in the offseason, it only ever equals just negative things that happen with the team. Saw with the 49ers, they didn't make the playoffs. We're seeing with the Bruins right now, they're not going to make the playoffs. They did a fire sale, and yeah, you're right. Marchand had to go. And I'm not the biggest hockey guy, but I saw the whole Boston community super sad about it. But sometimes you just got to, we're no longer in those cup era. So sometimes, yeah, now it's the time. We need to make a move to the future. And that was the way to do it, sending all that stuff out. So hopefully we hit on the draft picks that we acquired from all these deals and we create something going forward. It looks like we're going to be a rebuilding team for the next 2 to 3 years, and hope we make the most of it.
I will say, if we're going to rebuild back to what the Boston Bruins were in the early 2000s, please bring back those gold sweaters. Those things are awesome. I feel like I'm the only one that likes them. The generic gold jersey with a Bruin on the front, bring those back. If you're going to suck, at least look cool while you suck as a team. And I do want to correct you on one thing. You said most of the Boston sports fan base was sad. I was smiling away. I was sitting next to a Bruins fan when we were down in Philadelphia when it happened. I just started laughing. We'll take a quick break here. And speaking of Philadelphia, there is a reason we've been gone for about a month now.
Yeah.
We were off filming some hoops, and we'll show you the best of the madness that we covered over the past month.
I understand. I know it's not your typical resume.
Okay, well.
But candidate. But I've been working double shifts just to pay for books. I've been raising my 2 little brothers. I'm determined, driven, motivated. Isn't that what you're looking for?
Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. Opening that education savings account when she was little. Spearheading a campus tour. And another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? Well, now she's like, you aced planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
So this is our first show back since before the Super Bowl. A lot happened. Like I said, Luka's a Laker. Eagles won a Super Bowl. Brad Marchand's a Panther. Haha, Bruins fans. The Boston Celtics got bought for $6.1 billion. Now, the reason we were gone is because we were invited down to Philadelphia to cover a Division II conference tournament, the Central Atlantic Collegiate Conference. And just the next week after that, we covered the Division II East Regional for the NCAA in Division II women's basketball. And we're always honored as BTV volunteers and employees to head down south and film the best basketball that is around the area. Mm-hmm. And so right now what we'll do is we're going to show you some of the best moments from the madness in late February and early March. Enjoy the madness from BTV. Welcome back to the madness.
As Cleveland is hyped. That was a big-time 3 from number 42.
The Bears are officially NASDAQ champions.
Touch free. Falk for the win. Off the back iron. Second effort goes. Case closed. Falk for the win.
It is March. If you love college basketball, it is the best time of year.
5.3 seconds to go. The Chargers have to go the length of the floor. DiMarcico leaving it for Nunez. First three. Empty.
You're a big player. This is a big moment. You got to deliver.
Pulled out by Spratt. Darchinski. Cha-ching from downtown. Nobody tames the Tigers in 2024, 2025. It's a great night to be a Purple Knight. Bridgeport wins the CACC Men's Basketball Tournament.
Division II East Regional Championship game. It's top seed Bentley against number 3 seed Holy Family. They've certainly earned their way here.
And you have a team that's trying to get past this hurdle for the first time in close to a decade, and then you have a team that's trying to get past this hurdle for the first time in their history. It's going to make for a really, really fun Monday night.
Our East Regional Final is underway. Quickly, Morgan for 3. Got it.
Well, that wasn't what they drew up, but it works.
Searfoss tries a 3. Searfoss hits a 3, and the Tigers are smoking hot.
It's all about getting stops. We got to change their momentum. We got to get some stops so we can get our offense going.
It's comes up with the steal on no. 2-on-1 across the lane for Morgan. And Sierra Norman with the rebound. Another chance for Bentley. At lunchtime, Yeldon buries the three. Bernadette Loftus has no option. She takes a timeout, 10 in a row for the Falcons. Morgan steps out for three. Top three-point shooter in the country drills it. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2025 East Regional champion, the Bentley Falcons.
Bring on to Pittsburgh! Bring on to Pittsburgh!
We've got an unbelievable community here, and the support is wild. And we have to thank our fans more than anything because they're the reason for that comeback.
So a lot of basketball, a lot of rebounds, a lot of assists. Now, could you imagine that there's someone crazy enough that went through and tracked all of this? Can you imagine?
I can't imagine.
Can you imagine?
I cannot.
If someone went through and tracked all of it. So in a 10-day span, we had a crew of about, it kind of went back and forth between 10 and 15 people based on availability. But in a 10-day span, we covered 13 games that came out to 525 minutes. One game went to overtime, which is a bad word for production crews covering March Madness. We saw 1,649 points, 138 made three-pointers, and 457 attempted three-pointers. Now, a lot of the video that you saw in that package, that was filmed by volunteers lending their time and their expertise. And we had 3 college interns help us out, Zach Sylvia, Hannah Panici, and this guy sitting next to me here, Jonathan Rodriguez. They're all interns from Bridgewater State that came along and helped us, and it was a truly one-of-a-kind experience and something that I think it's safe to say a lot of places you don't get that type of training on the scene.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing. I think when I made my decision to go pursue an internship, I was applying to like big companies and then medium-sized companies, and I was getting like a little discouraged because you either don't hear any feedback back about like your resume or your opportunity, and then you're just like discouraged. And I think a lot of college students feel like that. And for me, the biggest thing going forward was, hey, make the most of your opportunity. Whether you think it's big or small, it's big to somebody else. And for me, I got an opportunity at BTV to do things that I probably would have never done at a big company or a big Fortune 500 company. I got to do hands-on things. I got to participate in events that I never thought I would. I got to be part of NCAA Division II, things that you probably would have never been hands-on with. I was afforded the opportunity and trained on these things, and it's been such a blessing and just such a like bittersweet moment that I was upset about something and come back on the flip side of it. I'm so grateful that I got all the opportunities I did and all the chances I did to participate and contribute to all the productions we've done this year. And I can't thank BTV enough for that, so thank you.
Well, we always invite volunteers to come in, be it from Bridgewater or outside of Bridgewater. And I mean, the success rate that BTV has had, you know, helping people kind of find their career paths. Something like this is always fun to do because if you're a sports fan, it's the best time of the year, but also you're not going to get this type of training anywhere else. And that Sweet 16 game that you saw at the end of it, to see a court storm in college basketball is awesome. Nobody got hurt, even better, and our equipment all safe. So if you are watching this and you want to come volunteer with us at BTV, we have a long list of sports and events that you can help cover, and you can even, help out with the show here. We take trips to the sports complex, 3-point contests, a little bit of everything. You never know what you'll find. Thanks for watching this episode of On the Sidelines. We promise we'll be back within the next month, so we won't miss too much, but we'll talk to you next time.